Coming up on Tech News today, is this the last season ever of big game console launches? Also, Samsung wants to do a wraparound phone or a Toblerphone. I don't know. We'll figure that out. And, of course, you got to fight for your right to unlock your phone. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, November 15th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website or online portfolio. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT11. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPhone, iPad, and other Apple products are worth at gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Maya Zakhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show that takes all the tech news in the world, sifts it through a sieve of usefulness and relevance, and presents to you the stuff you need to know, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the News Fuse. The Sony PS4 went on sale at midnight in the United States with a big launch event at the Standard Highline Hotel in Manhattan. Joey Chu of Brooklyn was the first of 500 folks who picked up their pre-orders at the event. Some companies made some big announcements there, too. Uncharted was officially confirmed for the PS4 with a teaser trailer. Downloadable content for The Last of Us entitled Left Behind was announced. The game Infamous Second Son will be coming to the PS4 March 21st, 2014. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero will get a special Deja Vu mission, and Bungie's Destiny beta will come first to the PS3 and the PS4.
New Federal Communications Commission Chairman Tom Wheeler has asked the CTIA Wireless Association to step it up when it comes to unlocking phones for consumers. It became illegal for consumers to unlock phones on their own earlier this year because of a ruling by the Librarian of Congress. That's the one responsible for handing out exemptions to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Wheeler said in his confirmation hearing in June that he wants to end the ban, and under his proposal, carriers would have to unlock phones only after the consumer's contract is up.
Bloomberg reports that Samsung will introduce a Galaxy smartphone with a three-sided display next year. Now, the device would use a new version of Samsung's flexible OLED technology called UM. Bloomberg sources aren't sure which Galaxy phone will have the three displays, saying it could be the S or the Note or maybe a whole new line altogether.
Nokia's Lumia 2520 Windows 8 tablet will arrive on AT&T November 22nd. That's the same day as the Xbox One and the Lumia 1520 phone launch. The 10.1-inch tablet has a 1080p display with a keyboard cover, LTE, and an 8,000 milliamp hour battery. A 32-gigabyte 2520 is going to cost you $400, plus you have to sign a 2-year contract to get that price. Now, that price will drop to $200 if you agree to that 2-year contract and buy a Nokia Lumia phone, either the 925, the 1020, or the new 1520.
BBM was downloaded more than 10 million times in its first 24 hours. Pretty popular. And now BlackBerry has made its iOS app, iPod, and iPad compatible as well for anybody running iOS 6 or higher. The company also pushed out some bug fixes for high battery drainage on the Android app and missing contact names in the iOS app.
Budget-conscious Chrome OS users, listen up. Acer just released a $199 Chromebook that is pretty much identical to the $249 C720. Now, this new model is called the C720 2848. It's powered by an Intel Haswell processor, has an 11.6-inch display, and 16 gigabytes of internal storage. So how is it lower in cost? It's got 2 gigabytes of RAM compared to the 4 gigabyte of RAM in the other model. The new Acer Chromebook is on sale starting today at Amazon and Best Buy.
Apple's been struggling with its checkout system at several Apple retail stores. TechCrunch reports sporadic outages yesterday, requiring the stores to pull out good old-fashioned mechanical credit card machines and gasp, pen and paper. The outage has interfered with some people picking up orders of the new iPad, but hasn't seemed to interfere with that self-service Easy Pay function you can use in the Apple Store app. Of course, you can't buy an iPad with that, only the small stuff.
A new study by the Pew Research Center and the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation surveyed almost 5,200 respondents about their news consumption at 11 of the most popular social media sites and found that more than a quarter of U.S. adults, 26%, rely on both Facebook and Twitter to get news via desktop or mobile. About 9% use at least 3 social media channels. Those could be Reddit or YouTube or Google Plus as well. However, the study notes that beyond news, the shared audience between these sites is very small.
Yes, the glorious reunion of Apple, Samsung, and U.S. District Court Judge Lucy Koh continues as the intrepid trio attempt to determine just how much Samsung owes Apple for violating 5 of its patents. Yesterday, Apple's head of marketing, Phil Schiller, told the court the shocking news that the iPhone was a bet the company product. His words. In opening arguments Wednesday, Apple had asked for an additional $380 million, while Samsung maintained $52 million was more than enough to add to the $600 million it must already pay. The amounts are based on estimates of lost profits and royalties.
I don't know how to follow that up. Google Play Music just hit the iPhone. The app has been available on Android for about 6 months already, but the iOS version gives users access to streaming music, but you won't be able to buy new tracks or subscribe to the $10 a month all-access plan while in the app. However, Google Play Music, the app comes with a free month trial of the all-access service. The app is available in 20 countries. An iPad version is in the works.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by Squarespace.com. If you want to make a gallery or a portfolio or online store, pretty much any kind of website you can think of, if you're like, I need a website or I need a better website, go check out Squarespace.com. They are always improving an already excellent platform with beautiful designs, easy to use editing and creation tools, and inexpensive, just $8 a month, including a free domain name if you sign up for a year. Mobile ready too. If your site looks like, I don't know, like something from 1993 on a phone, you need to check out Squarespace. Automatically redesigns every site for the phone, for the tablet, for the laptop, for the desktop. They will adapt so that it looks like you spent a lot of time designing it for everything. And it works. It just works. People won't even think about it. Plus, they're search engine optimized. Take advantage of all the content advantages you can get on Google, Yahoo, Bing, all the other search engines. And hosting is included. You don't have to worry about like, oh, do I have enough resources? Is my thing going up? Is my thing going down? No, Squarespace takes care of all of that, so you don't have to think about it. Start a trial right now. You don't even have to give them a credit card or anything. Just start building your website. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use the offer code TNT11, and you'll get 10% off. And as a bonus, show your support for Tech News Today. Squarespace has been a great supporter of Tech News Today. We thank them for that. So show them a little appreciation. Mention them on Twitter. Go try that free trial if you haven't got Squarespace already. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. It is Friday, and we're back. We've got the whole squad back together. Joining us, Darren Kitchen, host of Hack 5. Good to have you back, Darren.
Yes, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me on. It's coming to you from the new and improved Hack 5 studio. I'll have to show you guys a little tour after the show.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Are you wearing Google Glass?
It's kind of useless. Yeah. Although if you do Google Plus post directly to me photos of kittens, they just pop up.
See, not useless at all.
Yeah,
you just disproved the uselessness of Google Glass right there. Also back on, we have been missing Len Peralta, who likes to illustrate our stories on Fridays as we go along. Len, great to have you back, man.
It's good to be here. A little bit under the weather, but I'm ready to try to do some excellent art for you. Here's hoping that it works.
I'm sorry to hear you're under the weather. Maybe our tech news will cheer you up and make you feel better. Maybe a Sony PS4 launch will cheer Len up. Are you getting a PS4?
No, not yet. No, I'm waiting. I'm not going to be an early adopter on this stuff. I'm going to wait and see how it shakes out.
Here's the thing I want to talk about. PS4 fans had a big event. This is normal for game consoles to have some kind of big event. It's launching here in the United States, so they, like we mentioned, rented out the Standard Hotel. Now, what I thought was interesting is they actually had partners up on stage making those big announcements we heard in the news fuse, like Uncharted showing that teaser trail, like the fact that you're going to get the Deja Vu mission for Ground Zero, Destiny coming to beta first, all that sort of stuff. Second Son coming to PS4 March 21st. So there was news made there. It wasn't just a party, although it was also a party. But what I'm wondering is, as we move into cloud-based gaming, as we move into maybe, if Microsoft has their way, these consoles becoming more of your home entertainment center than a video game machine. Even Sony does that, right? You know, they have Netflix, they have Voodoo, they have Crackle. Is this kind of the witnessing of an end of an era of the huge game console launch? Darren, what do you think? Are we going to see this the next round of consoles? Are we even going to see a next round of consoles?
Actually, this is the first time where we've had a story that I've been on where we've talked about, you know, the PS4 or the Xbox One, where we've been talking about video games. And, you know, I mean, good on you if you can, you know, come up with a camera that calculates my bone structure and do Skype calls. But really, what I want to do with a video game console is play video games, and I think PlayStation just won my dollar. Sorry.
The reviews have basically borne that out. They say this is a really developer-friendly console, and it's great at playing video games. The interface for getting into things, not so great. It's a little weird that they show you the channels you haven't downloaded in the entertainment section, right next to the channels you have downloaded. So that's a little weird. But if you want to play video games, this seems to be the best one. Ayaz, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I mean, if you're going to shell out a bunch of bucks to actually be entertained and you want to have an interactive experience, the PlayStation 4 obviously has a ton of steam behind it. Well, no pun intended there. But I still don't think this will be the end of big, crazy launches, because the PlayStation 4 has kept Sony afloat or PlayStation 3 has kept Sony afloat for a while. Same thing for Microsoft. The Xbox division was very helpful and integral in its profit margins. So I'm thinking these devices, even 10 years from now, I don't know what kind of social networks or what kind of advertising we're going to get beamed to our heads in 10 years from now when these things are updated. But I'm pretty sure that this is not the last time we're going to see, look at the amazing new thing, because there's always an amazing new thing.
But will there be? That's my big question here is, will the PS4, will there be a PS5 or some other similar thing?
Yes.
Or will the idea of buying a big clunky game console just be obviated? I mean, the PS3 lasted a lot longer than the PS2 did before the next rev, and the PS3 is going to continue.
The PS4 it's a really small device compared to the PS3. It's apparently smaller than the PS3 Slim. So maybe it won't be this gigantic hulking device, but just because it gives you access to, maybe it'll be included in Sony TVs or Microsoft TVs or whatever they would do in the future. But I still think the feature would be a big deal. Maybe if it becomes a service, something like Steam, or becomes something like Voodoo where you're just streaming the games right to it, maybe then you won't see as much of a huge party, but you'll see we're on everything, so play our games everywhere.
I mean, is the question whether or not we're going to see another party in a year or two?
Well, yeah, we'll definitely see parties. What I'm wondering is if we'll see a big game console launch thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, when do we get rid of the set-top boxes? I think game consoles are here for a while. I don't think that, you know, it stops with the PS4. It just is going to continue to morph into something that companies will want more and more, as long as you're a game console. And so you're still fighting against, I don't know, mobile games and the way that people consume games in lots of other ways now. You do want to be a device that does other things, because then at least you appeal to just a larger subset of people. So I think that will continue to change, but I don't think gamers should feel like, that, you know, it's curtains for game stuff. I mean, just look at this. It's very game heavy.
I just look at the platforms right now, and we see on the one hand Ouya's and Android-based game consoles, and on the other hand something like the SteamOS saying, let's bring PC gaming, cross-platform gaming into the living room. And PS4 and Xbox One and even Wii U seem like dated concepts, vertical concepts, where it's like you buy the games and the hardware from one company. And maybe this trend will reverse in the next 10 years. And you may be absolutely right, Sarah, because you make a good argument. But it's also possible that in 10 years, there's no need to make a PS4 or an Xbox because we're all playing games in the cloud on whatever device we want. And so
In
maybe
10
Sony
years,
makes a
we'll
new
all be
device, but yeah.
We'll be living in the clouds in 10 years. I mean,
Probably will.
there probably won't even be anything like a console in 10 years.
probably won't even be
Computers will be
human.
up here.
No, as long as Sony or Microsoft thinks that there's money to be made, whether or not there's a market, they'll try to create the market. I mean, I might be in the minority as, gaming as a social phenomenon. I might be in the minority where I don't even care about a dashboard. I would rather prefer to just put a disc in and hit the reset button and start gaming. But yeah, no, these things have legs, and as long as they can continue to make them, they will.
My question remains, though, will they need to continue to make them? Well, in 10 years, we probably, like Sarah says, we probably won't even have like physical form as human beings anymore. So it's all going to change.
True.
Cloud people.
Samsung wants what is this like is this like a Dungeons and Dragons phone? 3-sided.
Yeah.
You're gonna eventually I get a 21-sided phone.
Yeah, Bloomberg's reporting about the Samsung Galaxy phone next year that will have a 3-sided display. And I kept thinking of like a triangular tube. It's like, no, that's not exactly the way this is going to work. The display would wrap around the edges so you can read messages from an angle. And Samsung plans to have each side of the display operate independently. The device would use an upgraded version of Samsung's flexible OLED display. They gave a demo of that at CES 2013, where a gentleman folded a little cover on top of the phone, and a message popped up. It was a pretty cool little display. We got a video of that. The display might be on the Galaxy S or the Note or the premium or some premium handset, but it could be a whole new line. Darren, do you think the 3-sided display, which seems to have a lot of whiz-bang kind of look to it, should this be on Samsung's flagship S series, or should it start a whole other line?
You're muted, Darren.
They definitely need to continue with their S series because it's been a phenomenal success. However, I don't feel like the technology, or at least their production of the technology, is at the point where they can actually launch it with that kind of flagship. I don't see this coming to the consumer market in the immediate future, just because just the way that it's said about their production capabilities with this. I don't think that they're there yet. However, it is an exciting technology. I feel like the value that it brings is not necessarily like what I need. When I heard 3-sided, I honestly thought like, oh, cool, they put like OLEDs in the side of the bezel, so which would be actually a lot better than this blinking blue LED. Does that mean that I have an email, or does that mean that I have a text message? If the bezel actually scrolled that would be a lot more interesting to me. But yeah, no, it's cool tech, and I want to see it evolve, but I'm not holding my breath for it in a Note 3.
All right, so now that IS has brought me back down to earth, this is not going to be some triangular Toblerone-shaped phone. It sounds to me like we're just going to have a display wrapped around the edge so you can see some alerts and messages like Darren's talking about. And that actually makes a lot of sense. I can totally see that.
Do we want a Toblerone-shaped phone? Because, I mean, we've seen curves, we've seen these banana phones, we've seen all kinds of...
Toblerone tasting phone.
But yeah,
Don't eat your phone. Come
True.
on.
When I saw the headline, I thought Toblerone. But I think this really should be on Samsung's flagship S series. This shouldn't be something separated out. It shouldn't be some one-off weirdo line. It should be their huge push into this world where they're like, look, we have a flexible OLED technology. We've got this down. We can show you things that other competitors just don't have. I mean, there's rumors of Apple curving their phones and everything, or curving the glass. If Samsung has something that really stands out, I think they should really go all in. Go with the S series. Don't go with the Note or a new one. Make this your real product, because it looks really interesting. Assuming they have all the rejections so you don't accidentally keep turning on things, it should be great.
I mean, the whole thing is that it's you have an advantage from an angle, right? I mean, right now, if you've got a flat display, you kind of have to be right in front of it. And if you go over to the left, you don't see what's on the screen that well. So curved displays, or something like what we're talking about here, where somehow you can read messages from an angle. I'm just like, how often are devices not right in front of you? I mean, it's not like even a 3D living room where it's, you've got something projected, it's a ways away, and it's nice if you can have a little bit of movement to be, if you're not right in front of it. But I fail to see how often something like that would ever help me.
I can see where it would help me. And I don't know if it will in practice or not, but I absolutely could see the idea of like, oh, it's lying on an edge on a table and just the side lights up with a notification. That could be pretty nifty. I think, as to your point, you put it on the note or a secondary line if you're not sure how it's going to be received. Right. You put it on the S if you're confident that this is going to be a wow factor thing. And whether it's actually useful in practice or not doesn't really matter in that case. What you want is, are people going to talk about it, and are they going to want to grab it out of somebody's hands and go, ooh, let me see how it works. Let me see that side thing. And this strikes me as that kind of thing. So I think it would be smart for Samsung to put it on the S line as well as a differentiating factor.
What I'm realizing right now is the fact that you could have soft buttons for different apps. Like if you have a camera button, or you could have some kind of other things that you could mess with on the side of your phone, because that's what the screen replaced, right? All of those buttons. So if you had the option that up here I could have lots of macros when it came to my camera, or other applications, maybe a music player function where I can change the
almost like programmable shortcuts on the touch screen side.
So it's not just about displaying information, but to make it an interactive surface like they showed in that demo. That might be the real killer feature for this. Because if you can replace the buttons on the side, you can make it do anything.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, as far as the Moto X is concerned and the active notifications, in my opinion, that's innovation that actually serves a really good purpose. That's something that, like, when you see it in action, you want it because it's incredibly useful. As far as the side display is concerned, if it is showing you those notifications passively, just on the side as opposed to that button like you were saying, Darren, I think that's pretty darn useful. We often look at our device and have no idea what's going on underneath other than a blinking light. Any sort of feedback on the side or wherever, that's useful.
I say, why stop on the edges too? Because if I put my phone down, I'm looking at this boring back case. And if I want it to have Hello Kitty on the back, I have to go and get a Hello Kitty snap-on cover for it. I don't want to get a Hello Kitty snap-on cover. I just want a wallpaper there.
Wait, isn't that the Yoda phone, whatever it is, with the e-ink back? That exists. It's coming.
Right, yeah.
I need that.
I want that.
Coming before the end of the year, Darren. You're going to have your Hello Kitty e-ink phone.
Yep,
sign me up.
Just like Walter White and Jesse. All right, news. You get news in weird ways, like freaking podcasts and all of that. But people are always looking for different ways to get news, and Pew Research has gone out and investigated. Sarah, how are people getting their news?
Well, a lot of different ways, and on social media quite a bit. We talk about, is Twitter really a place that many people consume news? Is it Facebook? The Pew Research, in collaboration with the James L. Knight Foundation, analyzed news consumers who are also on social media sites. And it's interesting because it depends not only the social network's reach as a whole in general, who's going to the site, but of those people, who is going to this site or network or participating in order to get news. Not really surprisingly, Reddit is huge for news with those who visit Reddit. 62% of respondents said, yeah, when I go to Reddit, I'm finding out what's going on in the world. It's news. Twitter is at 52%. Facebook's right about the same at 47%. So both Twitter and Facebook, about half of the people who say, yes, I go there regularly, are also getting news. Pinterest way down in last place at 3%. Not a big surprise. Pinterest is not really a place that I don't even know if you could break news on Pinterest. I'm sure somebody could figure out a way.
Fashion news.
But right, exactly. Beautiful news. But Facebook is particularly interesting to me because it's the biggest network in the U.S. among adults. About half adults say that they get their news there. Roughly 2/3, about 64% of U.S. adults use Facebook. And if half of those users are saying that they get news there, that's about 30% of the general population getting news on Facebook. Now, of course, it's not necessarily just a place to get news, but that's pretty crazy when you're talking about the general population. If you look at a social network like YouTube, it is social in a different way. It has the second biggest reach, second to Facebook in terms of just general usage. 51% of U.S. adults, 20% say that they get their news there. So that works out to about 10% of the adult population, which kind of puts it on par with Twitter, which is interesting to me because I don't think of YouTube as a place to get news, but certainly there are quite a few news programs, good ones too, that people are consuming, and that number probably will rise as it goes along. Is anybody surprised by these numbers, Darren? Does anything jump out at you as interesting or curious?
What jumps out at me, I mean, personally, I look at this and I go, hey, that's fantastic. Now I totally understand Pinterest. It's a safe place for me to go because I'm the type that actually prefers to only absorb like tech news. Because I mean, yes, we know that Reddit is a huge source of news on the web. And it's one of the reasons that I stay in only certain subreddits because I don't want to find out about some horrific tragedy, some tsunami or flood or something else that I can't do anything about other than absorb negative energy. So I think I'm just going to stay on Pinterest because we got handbags and handbags.
I have a little problem with Reddit being counted as a social network and then put in the news category. I mean, to me, Reddit is a news website. That's what it's about. It's like saying, wow, look at this. A lot of people get their news from Google News. It just that seems really obvious to me. The fact that Twitter outpolls Facebook, I think, is very interesting, especially because Twitter has a smaller audience than Facebook. But it kind of makes sense to me. Facebook's where you go to hang out with family. Twitter is more keeping up on the world, whereas Facebook's large number is a lot bigger. I think the YouTube number surprises me the most, Sarah. The fact that 20% get their news from YouTube, you're right. There are some good news sources on there, but they're pretty rare on the ground. YouTube is not really thought of as a news place. I didn't think anyway.
That's exactly, those numbers jumped out at me too. Or I thought, well, gosh, I mean, that's more than I would think of people who say, yeah, that's where I get my news information from YouTube. Then again, there are people who watch clips from actual news programs via YouTube. I mean, that's always the place that I go if I've missed something. Someone says, "Oh, did you see when the anchor, fell off his chair?" It's like you can always go to YouTube for that. So I think there's probably some gray areas in what it means to consume news, but in general, yeah, I mean, it's Facebook, of course, number one. That's not really a big surprise, but I thought the Twitter numbers were a little bit lower, especially because I'm always like, Twitter's a great place for news. Not that many people are using Twitter for news, and it's also interesting that again, of the people polled, most of them said, well, it's either Facebook or it's Twitter. Beyond news, I'm not really hanging out on both of those social networks all that often.
My only concern with these kinds of things, of course, is the validity and the fact checking, and just the fact that, the old game of telephone, just the way that it is like so easy to share these things, stuff that isn't necessarily a fact can be spread rather quickly. And while the crowd is awesome for vetting, it can also develop groupthink. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the traditional news outlets adapt to the social media.
All right, let's take a quick break. Thank our sponsor for today's show, Gazelle. If you're thinking about getting a new 3-sided phone, perhaps, or maybe an iPad, or maybe an iPhone, or maybe HTC One. Who knows? New Android, a lot of great new Android phones out there. Maybe you're going to get a Moto X. Whatever it is, you're going to have to scrape together a little cash, right? And to do that, Gazelle wants to give you cash. Now, they're not just going to give you cash. They're going to require something in return, but it's something you don't need anymore because you're getting a new phone. So send them your old one or send them your old tablet. They'll even buy broken iPhones and iPads. Get a risk-free offer for your gadget and free shipping. They'll even give you a box sometimes. A lot of times, actually, they'll give you the box. If you don't even have a box around, they'll take care of you that way. Then you get 30 days to send them your item. You can lock in that quote. It's risk-free. There's really no reason not to lock that quote in if you're even considering sending them the phone. Just do it. Just go lock it in right now because the device is probably not going to get more valuable over time. So there's really no risk to doing it. Go to Gazelle.com. Find out what your iPhone is worth. Take a minute and put in all the information, get that quote. You might be surprised. You might have a little extra cash waiting for you to help you make that next gadget purchase, or even just pay some bills if you got a gadget you're just not using it anymore. Go to Gazelle.com. Do it now, though, because your iPhone may lose value the longer you wait. Gazelle.com, we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. New FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler. He is a former head of the CTIA. That's the Mobile Telephone Lobbying Association. And he is now in charge of the FCC, but the first thing he's doing is going to battle with the CTIA. Remember, the Library of Congress removed the exemption to the DMCA for unlocking phones. Sarah told you about that in the news fuse. He wrote a letter to Steve Largent, the president and CEO of the CTIA, saying, quote, "It is now time for the industry to act voluntarily or for the FCC to regulate. Let's set a goal of including the full unlocking rights policy in the CTIA Consumer Code before the December holiday season. So in other words, he's saying sometime by mid-December, late December, you guys need to get this figured out. You need to make it the right of the consumer to unlock their phone. Now, this is a policy they've been working with the FCC on for 8 months. They would make it standard for the carrier to unlock any off-contract phone. So whether you're out of your contract or you pay the early termination fee, whatever, if you're the owner of the phone, you unlock it, and they have to respond to the request for unlocking within 2 days. Now, the CTIA agrees with that part of it. The part that the FCC wants them to do that they don't agree with is to affirmatively notify customers when their devices are eligible for unlocking and or automatically unlock devices when eligible without an additional fee. They don't want to do it. It's not that they have a problem with it. They just don't want to be on the hook for it. That's one responsibility they don't want to have. They say that unlock does not mean interoperable. They can unlock phones all day long. It doesn't mean you can use a GSM phone on a CDMA network. And they feel like they have some pretty liberal unlocking policies already. So they're backing the Unlocking Consumer Choice and Wireless Competition Act, which essentially just goes in and says, let's make it the law that the Library of Congress exemption to the Copyright Act for unlocking is now the law. So it's a permanent exemption, which isn't a bad way to do it, but it means that the cellular telephone companies don't have to do anything. They're off the hook. They don't have to tell you anything. They don't have to let you know. Tom Wheeler says not sending them notice that they can do this makes this policy entirely hollow. Then there's Zoe Lofgren's bill, don't forget, which would actually amend the DMCA directly, which gives you a little bit of a stronger right as a consumer. Darren Kitchen, any shot in hell of getting this done by December? And even so, does it really change your world much with so many phones being unlocked already or able to be unlocked?
I don't know about this changing my world much or my, hope of Congress actually doing anything by December, although it does reaffirm my belief that Congress is, of course, a decade behind. I do agree that the DMCA needs to be changed. I hope that's the course that this goes. I'm really thankful for these ideals, and I hope that they could apply to more than just locked cell phones as far as empowering consumers. I'd like it to apply to other superficially locked things, because I don't see a difference between, say, Verizon and the iPhone than perhaps Microsoft and the Xbox One. There's a lot of things that are locked in this way that should be looked at. And, if no one else can do something for the consumers, hopefully Congress can.
Yeah, but the big deal is if you unlock the phone and you can't take your phone over to another carrier, that's kind of like, okay, that's great, but what did you just do? That's the end product. If it doesn't really change anything, it's nice and it sounds great that you would have, oh yes, I can unlock my phone and I can move it as long as I'm staying on these 3 or 4 carriers, or I'm running on like Sprint's MVNO or one of these things. I don't know how much more choice you get.
You're buying the party line there, Ayaz, though. With LTE coming along and multiband phones, portability is going to get better.
That's what was supposed to happen with LTE, but it didn't. That was the weird thing, because LTE was supposed to
it hasn't fully rolled out yet, and the phones, the newer phones the older phones only had 1 or 2 bands. The newer phones are coming with multiple radios.
Ayaz, are you saying that you're surprised that there's a technological barrier that's keeping a phone on a certain network?
Not surprised. I'm simply saying that these artificial barriers are in place anyway, so even if they did do the unlock, it still doesn't work. So even if you have these devices from Apple or Google.
But sometimes it works, and right now it's illegal for you to unlock your phone.
Well, it's illegal as you can ask for permission, right? That's supposed to be the silly thing right now. There should seriously be an exemption for this, by the way. This is ridiculous. You should be able to unlock your phone if you want to. You shouldn't have to be at the whims of Verizon because you can't take because the iPhone can move from Verizon to AT&T. It was unlocked on Verizon. Why the AT&T one isn't unlocked is strange. It's that kind of thing. But I don't see it being a huge net win for anyone right now. Maybe in 5 years, if this happened and we could actually move our devices from carrier to carrier, that'd be freaking cool. But that's not the reality right now.
How would you feel if this were like a little different? Say, if your laptop were locked to Windows. I mean, I don't know. How would you feel about that if you needed, if it was illegal to unlock the BIOS and put on a different
to your ISP?
Yes,
that would
really
suck.
What's going on.
Clearly, it would suck. I'm not saying I'm not saying any of this is good, by the way. I'm just saying that practically it's terrible.
Yeah, so I look at that and I say, so why is it okay for there to be law that props up these business models with superficial restrictions.
Oh, it's not okay.
So yes, I'm all for this. I'm all for this reform.
I'm not sure. I think I'm mostly for Zoe Lofgren's because it goes right to the source, to the DMCA, and says, let's change that law. That law really needs to be rehabbed. So that's what I'm most for. I think the FCC regulations are my least favorite because it actually it just changes regulation. And that's something that another chairman or somebody or some court could invalidate very easily. So as much as I'm cheering for Tom Wheeler for taking this on, I don't think it's the best way to solve it myself. Also, to clear up some confusion in the chat room, Steve Largent, president and CEO of the CTIA, is the former wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. That's his Rookie of the Year card right there. Tom Wheeler is not the former showrunner of NBC's failed series, The Cape, in case you're wondering. Comcast wants to sell you movies, but not just for rent, for own.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first read this article in Reuters, which is exclusive, I was like, wait, what am I reading? They already do that. But no, Comcast lets you rent movies. But Reuters is reporting anonymous sources that say Comcast wants to sell movies for download and streaming through their set-top boxes and through Xfinity TV on the website. And this would be good for Hollywood studios. They would make more money from movies, obviously, after they leave theaters. It wouldn't be a concurrent thing. It would be an afterwards thing. It could start even by the end of the year. At least this is what the sources are saying. The initial offering would include a range of titles. You've got several Hollywood studios possibly on board. That would be a mixture of new release, first-run movies, older movies, and then possibly some TV shows as well. Comcast is not confirming this. So again, this is just speculation at this point. But right now, cable operators, not just Comcast, but Comcast is one of the big ones, offer on-demand movies for free sometimes or for rental to watch during a specific time period. So this would be, not unlike what you can do on iTunes. You rent or you buy, depending on how much you like the movie or you want to watch it a bunch of times again. And obviously, over at the movie studios, with DVD sales falling, this would possibly be a great revenue stream. But I want to ask, especially when it comes to a set-top box like Comcast, where people are used to watching their cable, maybe renting a movie here or there. There's that whole pay-per-view thing that we get. Who's buying movies, and why would they do it through Comcast, Darren?
Convenience. Convenience is the number one reason why we do most things in our consumer-driven society. And I don't know if this is necessarily good for consumers when you think about, yes, you're right. There has always been the pay-per-view and those kind of models with television. But as we talk about Comcast and the internet, and I get it. Nobody wants to be in just the business of pushing bits because what's the value add there? But and I wouldn't mind this so much if there was actually competition in the ISP marketplace. However, I just wonder if net neutrality fails, would this, at what cost is this? Convenient and cool, more things streaming, great, but at what cost?
Well, and there's the download side of it too, which is less of a net neutrality issue, I suppose, unless your downloads are prioritized and go really fast. I guess it could be. But where can I play those later, right? If I buy a movie from Comcast and download it to my laptop, where does that DRM work? Is it stored somewhere? Do I have a locker of them? Can I reauthorize the rights? They start to enter into all these issues that iTunes and Vudu and Google Play have to deal with. If this were announced, remember, this is just a rumor. Reuters says that people with knowledge of the plan are saying this. It seems like every outlet has a little spin on that. Anyway, I think they would have to say, we're going to be part of Ultraviolet. That way, all of a sudden, anything you've bought on Ultraviolet is available through Comcast. That's a boon to Comcast, I would think. And in addition, anything you buy from Comcast goes in your Ultraviolet locker. And so that would incent me to go like, oh, okay, maybe I will buy it from Comcast because I'm not locking myself into this Comcast ecosystem.
Yeah, the cool thing, I think, that for Comcast is that this would solve a problem of trying to get a box in someone's house, right? Comcast has cable boxes. It's everywhere. So if in theory you're going to buy movies from Comcast, you already have the hardware to watch it. So as opposed to going, okay, how do I get Google Play movies on there? I can use Chromecast, or I can use a Google TV, or I can use any other device. Or for Apple products, I need to have an Apple TV. For Comcast, they would just say, look, you already have the box. You can download the movies right here. you don't have to do anything extra. If the UI is useful and it's easy to purchase stuff and it just goes right onto your bill, they might actually have a winner. I think I shocked everybody by saying Comcast would have a winner.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
maybe so.
Sorry,
I didn't know
guys.
what to do with that either.
well, you guys, I chose the story thinking that everyone would be like, ugh, God, ugh, yeah.
I'm not going to use it. I'm just telling you.
I'm not either, but
I'm fundamentally opposed to it, but for different reasons. You know, I just don't like my ISPs getting into the business of providing competing services because of just the slippery slope.
I don't have a problem with them doing it if we make sure that that slope is no longer slippery. I'm just coming at the same objection from the other angle.
Grippy shoes. That's what
essentially,
we need to do.
which is like, let's solve the real problem, which is this issue of net neutrality and how it's best enforced, whether it's through competition or whether it's through legislation or regulation, however that is. I think we all should want the ability to stream whatever we want, wherever we want, no matter who's providing our internet connection. And that actually, if it worked right, shouldn't prevent a Comcast from being able to implement something like this. But I know what you mean, Darren. Right now, in the situation we're in, it starts to be like, well, wait a minute, is that going to stream better than Netflix? Are they going to degrade Netflix? All those questions start to pop up into people's heads, whether fairly or not. They pop up in your head. Let's we mentioned this in the news yesterday. Coin is a card that wants to unify all of your paying into one thing. And is it a physical object?
It's a physical device about the size of a credit card that can digitally store up to 8 credit, debit, gift, or membership cards. And you're right, we mentioned it like a one-liner in the news views, but I was really intrigued by this, so wanted to bring it up. You can switch between which card is activated by pressing a circular button on the actual surface of the device. The coin device can then be swiped in a conventional reader or ATM. The magnetic strip on the back is dynamic. That's how it actually tells the other readers what exactly is on there. The coin will ship with a small reader, so you can scan your card into the Coin mobile app. Then you sync that app with your Coin card over Bluetooth, and the Coin's battery will last 2 years. Now, it's got a battery because you can switch the cards that's on there. And also, there's a display that shows you which card you're going to use, the last 4 digits, the security code, and its expiration date. And if you accidentally leave your Coin card somewhere, your phone will alert you since the devices are paired. So if it's out of your range, you'll get a little notification saying, hey, you forgot your card somewhere.
Yeah, wait a minute. Will the cards hover above the card like in the video that we just saw?
In the video we're seeing, this is a visual demonstration of what could be, how to look at this. These cards are not going to be flicking up. There's no awesome projector that has you can do it in the air to show you which cards are there. But this is a nice visual representation of what's actually represented by the card. Coin is up for pre-order today, $50. It's going to cost $100 for new buyers when it ships next summer. Sarah, you pre-ordered this yesterday, didn't you?
Sure did, Diaz. I watched this video and I was like, sold. Especially because it was 50% off. But no, I love this idea, and it's funny. I've been watching the reactions of people who are interested in the future of tech money payments. And most people that I know are like, this is awesome. It just means you've got one card, and if you've got a wallet with several cards shoved in there, it's just the one. But it's still a physical card, and that makes a lot of sense to people. And then you've got other people saying, this is just so silly. I mean, why, to have a physical card that requires a battery that you can lose. Yes, it's very nice that Bluetooth will push to your phone if you've left it somewhere, but there's still that physical thing. That's not the solution at all. I don't think I agree. I think that this is it's a really neat kind of a middleman as we get to some sort of an all digital payment system at some point in the future. And I think it's awesome to be able to be like, here's my card. Which one do I want to choose? Beep, beep, beep. Okay, I'm going to use the Amex right now. It's a great idea.
That was actually one of the selling points on Google Wallet, wasn't it? That you would be able to manage multiple cards, and like you said, I want to choose the Amex for this, but NFC isn't everywhere, and so this is using a pre-existing infrastructure, and we're already trained in this behavior. So I think this is a huge win. I'm also really excited because this is infinitely copyable. I mean, I saw this, and then I immediately went out and got 3-stripe card readers and writers so that I can create a double-sided, stripe so I can carry just 2 cards really easily off the shelf. One of my questions is, will merchants accept this? I mean, I know that this violates Visa guidelines. However, if there's just a groundswell of people using it anyway, and, most merchants will just be like, well, whatever, it's money and I want to take your money, will that change those guidelines? But ultimately, I'm just very excited about this technology because the idea of having the ability to change the mag stripe without a separate device, having the card be able to actually change its stripe without having to run it through something else first, that's awesome. That changes everything. I can't wait to get one of these, hack it, and use it to clone key cards or brute force them.
The places that require you to show the signature on the back of your card are the places not going to take this, right? So think about how often does that happen? And it happens sometimes. Most places, you swipe your card through, they don't even look at it. Those places are going to take it. So this is going to work most places.
There's no signature. I've never signed it. There's no signature.
Yeah, right. And so you may run into places, maybe some lack of convenience in that you may run into a place every once in a while. It's like, I don't know if I can take this. This is weird. I either don't know what it is. I think you are Darren Kitchen and you're trying to hack me with some card, or it violates the guidelines. There's no signature on it. We're not going to take it. But most of the time, I think it'll just slide right through, just like a card sliding through a reader. Get it? Because I mean, think about it. You go on the internet, you don't show them your card. You type in the number. So this is that system happening in reality.
Now, a lot of the folks in the chat room are like, they say it's a social engineering experiment because when you put in your information, they don't take your shipping information just yet. So you put in a credit card, you're billed immediately, and then they'll let you know when they're going to ship it. So I'm assuming it's a real product. I'm hoping it's a real product because I'm probably going to buy one.
There's actually laws about how long that they can keep your money in a pre-order situation. I think it's something like 60 days. So I don't know how they're dealing with that, but it seems like they're kind of almost Kickstartering, but not Kickstartering. They're like, they said in their FAQ, like, why are you taking my money now? And it's because, well, we need money to manufacture things.
Yeah, it's like ThinkUp taking pledges but not using Kickstarter. And then they'll launch after the first of the year. So there's a little bit of trust there. It's also $55 because you're paying for shipping for the thing that they don't know where to ship it to you yet. You got to pay that $5. But hey, I just did it. See what happens. Used a temporary card number.
Smart idea.
Good idea. Let's look at the randomizer. A straw poll today for our live audience, and 72% of them voted against the mock-up of Google as a BBS, which I'm very, very disappointed in the audience today. I thought that was the winner. But no, we're going to talk about this amazing student who found a way to boost conductivity 400 times, totally by accident. Fine. I guess you want extraordinarily cheap, faster devices in your future. But essentially, Washington State University doctoral student Marianne Taran, this is pretty cool, left out a crystal of strontium titanate, and just by being exposed to light, it boosted the conductivity 40,000%. Now, this still isn't super conductive, but because it's a crystal, a device using persistent photoconductivity could store information throughout the entire volume of the crystal, and they think this could eventually lead to massive increases in data capacity. And Gizmodo even speculates some kind of Krypton-style crystal storage of information in your Fortress of Solitude.
So this is like the penicillin of conductivity. It's like, okay, well, so you just accidentally left it out for a while, and it's amazing. Like that's we should leave out more things and see what happens.
Yes,
just
exactly.
leave out all the things.
Or the X-ray. I think it was the X-ray was discovered accidentally in a drawer. Same sort of
with the microwave, with the chocolate melting in the guy's pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
There's tons of examples of
Just
that.
make sure all the technology's out there, and it'll be fine.
Right. Make some more accidents, scientists. They lead to awesome.
Accidental
Massive
awesome.
increases in data capacity that's going to take all weekend to download over my 14.4 baud. Wonderful.
That's because you're on that Google BBS all the time, eating up all the data. What's on the calendar, Sarah?
Well, looking ahead to next week, Salesforce's Dreamforce conference starts on Monday the 18th, runs through the 21st. Also on Monday, Salesforce's earnings report. Lots of Salesforce next week.
Salesy stuff. Excellent.
Yeah.
We might have a voicemail, might we?
Incoming message.
We do. Caller from Michigan, weighing in on the Moto G, the cheaper sister to the Moto X.
Hey guys, to compare to the Moto G announcement yesterday, I think IS compared it to the Asha phones. Actually, the Asha phones are a lot cheaper. The better comparison is the Lumia 520, which is only $80 off contract normally. $80 gives you full offline mapping from Here Maps, a bunch of support for Xbox games and other apps. I mean, most of the games in the Windows Phone store work on it, and it runs smoothly. It's built well. The only limitation is that it doesn't really have the front-facing camera. Anyway, that's the reason why that phone has taken off so much in pretty much every country it's been released in, because $80 and you basically have a Garmin plus an Xbox plus an MP3 player plus, hey, a phone if you wanted to. Anyway, thanks for the show.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah, a lot of folks were like, they would ask me on Twitter, how is that a good deal if it's more expensive than the Lumia, if it's more expensive than these Asha phones? I was just explaining that if you're going to buy your first phone, these are like the lower cost phones, this price point might be low enough that it might get people into a pretty powerful phone and in the Android universe with a really good experience.
The power for the price, I think, is incredible, because you can also compare it to seemingly limitless numbers of cheap Android phones from Chinese manufacturers that are out there as well, but they don't usually have those specs. Those specs are like, if you're comparing it to the Samsung Galaxy S, not as good. If you're comparing it to the Moto X, it's not as good. But if you're comparing it to these other phones in the same price range, and I think it's definitely better. So I got some flack for saying, why are you dogging on the Moto G specs? I'm not dogging on the specs. It's all a matter of perspective, where you're coming at it from. But that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, Darren Kitchen, for joining us. It's great to have you on Fridays, man. What's happening with the Hack 5 these days?
We are changing up the studio, adding a whole bunch of new fun shows. What's out right now is an awesome talk with Craig Hefner of TNS about hacking into home routers. Turns out a lot of their firmwares have backdoors, fun ones that are really easy to exploit. So hak5.org for that, and then stay on all the social stuff to find out about our new live shows.
And those of you on the audio show may have forgotten that quietly in the background, Len Peralta has been illustrating the show. Len, what have you come up with today?
Well, there's some pretty interesting stuff this week. Obviously, the PS4 launch is a big deal, and this image is PS4 launch day. This guy's been holding it in for the ceremonial pants wedding, which is happening all over the country right now, or all over the world, I should say. The Toblerphone phone. I thought that's when I read that, that's what I thought that was going to be, the three-sided phone. Luckily,
put your eye out.
That's right. Luckily, it's not going to be this crazy device. It's going to be something a little bit duller.
Best
but this is what it
tagline.
would look like.
Hello, ouch.
Yeah. Hello, ouch. Reddit, just a really cute little Reddit. I've always wanted to draw the
nice
Reddit guy. He's just reading the news. It's very simple.
Catching up on the news.
Chairman emeritus, wireless carriers, unlock these cell phones. Very kind of Reagan-esque, if you will. So that's what I drew.
Mr. Largent, unlock these phones.
Exactly. This guy, Comcast, has a hot streaming copy of Thor: The Dark World.
With the NBC Peacock feathers. I like it.
Exactly. And, coin sounds like a great idea, but you know what? Coin does not make you wealthy. So if you're going to use coin, don't assume that you're going to have all the money to put on the cards.
No coins used in the making of coin, right?
Exactly. So that is this week's images.
Excellent. Now you're doing something I think is really great. A benefit right now. Tell us a little bit about what you got coming out. It's a limited edition print, I know.
Sure thing. Absolutely. My background is Filipino, and of course, the big typhoon Haiyan came through the Philippines last week, devastated that area. So I wanted to do something to try to help them out. So I created this Sun Will Come Out limited edition print. You can go to my store, peraltartsy.com. You purchase it, $20 of that will go to the Red Cross.
That's a great illustration too. You got the Filipino flag kind of keeping the rain off the family there. It's really,
we're
really
very
well done.
hopeful people. Yes, very hopeful people. So
definitely,
I feel for everybody there. Luckily, I didn't have anybody that was in the direct line of the typhoon, but I know hundreds of others, thousands of others have been affected. So I wanted to do what I could to help.
Thanks, Len. Peril Tartsy, PeralTartsy.myshopify.com. Don't forget, you can also submit stories to our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. It's also Friday, which we like to remind you about our best of shows. Twit.tv/best of is a place to submit elements of that. Those will be coming up soon, in like a month or so. So if you got any stuff you've been thinking should go into that show, let us know right now. You can email us, tnt@twit.tv. Give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/technewstoday. And, of course, get our podcast subscriptions. Get our online versions. Get our show notes at twit.tv/TNT. We'll be back on Monday with Molly Wood as our guest. See you then.